Hey guys, Butcher FM here, back for another video but it's a bit different. Today, instead of being behind the camera and on Football Manager, I've decided to do a championship predictions for the 2017 and 18 season. It starts in about a week's time, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so for every team, as you can probably see, I'm going to do my personal hot prospect and best player for the upcoming season, and also a rating for the team on how I think they're going to perform. So let's start off with the bottom three teams. So in 24th place, I have tipped Bolton to finish bottom of the table. Now the reason for this is because I just don't think they're going to have enough firepower up front. I mean, okay, they've got Gary Medine and Alan Lafondra, and even now Adam Armstrong, who is actually a very good piece of business. But are they all outstanding strikers or good enough to keep them in the league? I mean, Alan Lafondra, he's had stints at Wolves and Reading, and he's never really even broken into the first team and had a big impact. Okay, he had one season at Reading, which wasn't even in the Championship, where he was, made a name for himself, but that doesn't help him out in this division. I just don't think they have the strikers suited to this league, and I think that's where they're going to come up short. So, okay, now, so for the team that I think is going to be 22nd in the table, as you can see, is Millwall. I'd probably definitely say they have a better chance, but then again, similar to Bolton, both teams have the same kind of team that they went down with, so it's going to really be similar to, or down to how they play. I mean, I do like their manager in Neil Harris, being a player there. I do definitely think that he is someone who can lift the players, lift the crowd. I don't think there'll be any problem with that. It'll be down to talent. I think their hot prospect, or most exciting player to watch this year, will probably be either Steve Morrison, who I've actually put down as their best player, or George Saville. I think George Saville is someone who has a lot to prove. He's definitely got the talent. I mean, I remember watching him Wolves. Obviously now he's moved from Wolves to Millwall, but I thought when I first watched him that he was someone with bags of ability. Just he didn't really know the right ways how to show it. Being a Chelsea youth player, you're never going to be playing for Chelsea, so a lot of players do make it. I mean, you saw it with Tammy Abraham last year. They make it in the Championship, so it's going to be really interesting to see how he does. But that is who I've put for 22nd place. Okay, so next up, and the final team who I think will be relegated next year is Burton Albion. Obviously, they had a good year last year and no one tipped them to stay up, but I think honeymoon period's over. I think as good as the manager as Nigel Clough is, the team isn't strong enough for the division this year. It's so strong, both physically and, just mentally. I mean, the talent in the Championship this year, I just see a team like Burton struggling a bit too much and not having enough to really sustain in this league. I think Lucas Akins is going to be so key next year. He scored a lot of goals last year. If he can replicate that, then who knows. But, I mean, Hope Akpan as well, coming off the back of being released by Reading. He's a big, powerful midfielder, exactly what they need, and also very good at the Championship level. But we'll have to see. I'm predicting Burton to finish in 22nd place. Okay, so next up, just surviving the drop by one place, will be Bristol City. Now, I know this is a bit of a strange one because they actually had a very good start to the last season. Lee Johnson, he brought in Tammy Abraham, and the rest is history. He did absolutely brilliant, and to be honest, his goals kept them in the league. I personally think Lee Johnson should have been sacked. Last season, 2 or 3 occasions where he should have been sacked and he just wasn't, and that is really going to come back to hurt him. Aidan Flint is probably their biggest player, standout player, such a good defender. I'm amazed he's still there and hasn't been picked up by anyone else. The interesting thing will be Diediu, I think that's how you say it, I have no idea, signed for about 5.3 million from Angles from the Ligue 1. If he can replicate the same goal scoring form he did in that league to the Championship, then we're talking serious goals and talent as well, because I mean, some of the goals he was scoring were brilliant. Okay, so next up, and in 20th spot, I've got Sheffield United. Obviously, it's the only team out of the 3 that's been promoted which I've tipped to stay up. I just think that with the club as a whole, the team they've got coming up, and the way they come up, they're going to be able to sustain it. I mean, the morale they must have had from that season, they absolutely walked it. I mean, all over the pitch. They had brilliant players in every single area. Billy Sharp, key player. He will score goals no matter what level. He's done it in the Championship before. He's proven it. He could score in any single division. Obviously unproven in the Premier League, but we don't have to worry about that at all. As well as this, Samir Caruda's big season for him. Obviously, he had quite a lot of media attention from that episode of his, if you like, about a year ago, which actually did see him get released from MK Dons. So obviously, with last season building him back up, it's going to be interesting to see how he moves on as a player, because he did look like quite good. But I just generally think the reason they're going to be in this position is down to the morale of the team and the way they performed when coming up. So that is why, for 20th spot, I've gone for Sheffield United. Okay, so next up in 19th spot is QPR, or Queen's Park Rangers, sorry. The reason I've put them so far down the table is because they're a team with, I mean, it's hard to say. They were on such a high, 5 or 6 years ago in the Premier League, and since they've dropped, the money has been a massive issue, the owner's been a massive issue, and I can only see it getting worse. Tony Fernandes in charge, that just has never gone well with QPR at all, and, they're now getting the tail end of a really bad and really expensive period, in my opinion. The only highlights is that they've got a good manager in Ian Holloway, made it at this level. He will not take a team down at all. So I fully believe they'll stay in the division, but I just don't think they have enough to push forward. I mean, Connor Washington's a good player. He proved himself last year, obviously arriving from Peterborough. He did make that step up, but once again, can he carry the team? Can he score enough goals? If he has an off period or maybe gets injured, who's going to step in? I think Sean Goss, about £500,000 they paid for him off Man United. That could be a good bit of business. He's a youngster, hungry, coming through. I'd like to think that he's going to be quite, wants to make an impact there, and I think that he could. Now for 18th spot, a team that is a bit controversial or surprising is Nottingham Forest. They are a very good team, and they're a very good team of what I think is individuals, because when you look down their team sheet week in, week out, it is a very strong side, but they just about escaped relegation last year, and that is something which, is very alarming. I mean, Mark Warburton went in there, and a lot of people thought that he was going to be able to turn that around, and to be honest, he didn't really do much at all. They just kind of got lucky and were able to save themselves. I think this next season's a big year for players like Zach Clough, Ben Brereton, or however you say it, because I think those two are very young, and they actually did very well in that kind of relegation, threatening campaign, if you like. But I mean, they've got such a good, strong centre-half partnership in Mancien and Matt Mills. I mean, obviously Matt Mills stepping up from Bolton a few years ago when he was in the Championship with them, and ever since he's just been a rock at the back. So I'm so surprised by how they did last year. But obviously losing Britt Assombalonga, I mean, I know he was not always fit, and I think if he was, then they may have finished a bit higher up last year. But the fact he's now gone, and not only that, the fact he's now gone to Middlesbrough, a Championship rival, I just can't see it being a good move. And I don't really think, with the owners in the current situation there, that 15 million will be distributed out. I think that they won't put too much money in the kitty. Okay, so next up in 17th spot is Barnsley. Now this is actually a bit of a weird one for me, because I actually really do like Barnsley, and I like what they're doing. I just don't think it's going to kick in straight away. I mean, you saw it last season. They have a very, not necessarily young team, but not much people know about their players. I mean, Conor Hourihane, absolutely phenomenal midfielder, but no one actually really knew who he was before he moved away. And I mean, the players they brought in, Cameron McGeehan, who, me being a Norwich fan, I know what he was like in the 2012, I think, Youth Cup win. He was phenomenal, and it's so great to see them giving a chance to younger players. Same with Lloyd Isgrove. He had a little stint at Sheffield Wednesday last season, but he didn't really get the chances. And now I think he'll have such a good opportunity to play for first team football and just show him what he's got. I mean, as well as this, Tom Bradshaw making the step up from Walsall. He used to be an absolutely dynamite striker for them, scoring goals left, right and centre in League One. Can he do it? That's extra level up. It'll be so interesting to see. I do really like the team, and I generally think that they could do well. I just don't think it's going to be next season. I think they've got a period where they need to realise they've got 1 or 2 years before they can even start pushing up, and all they've got to hope for is that they actually keep their players this time. But I generally do think that they are going in the right direction. Okay, so now for 16th place, I've gone for my rivals, Ipswich Town. Now I'm going to give this from a completely unbiased point of view. I can't see them progressing too far. I think they've got a good manager, stable manager, Mick McCarthy. But I think with him there, they're never going to push forward. They're always going to look to be mediocre. And same with their owner. I think the reason that they are so, I don't want to repeat the word mediocre, but they're so average is because of that. But they have, you can't fault them. They've done some good business this year. Joe Garner, good player. Obviously, he had a good little, previous time at Preston. He did score goals. He can score goals. I think Emir Hughes is another good player, as well as that Selina. Obviously, he hasn't got the experience, but he's a Manchester City youngster. They tend to be good. As well as that Tom Adeyemi, a good piece of business. He was the starlet for Rotherham last year, and there wasn't much of them at all. So that really does say something. But I just can't see them breaking the duck. I can't see them getting relegated. I can't see them getting anywhere near promotion. So for 16th spot, I've gone for Ipswich. Now for 15th spot, I've gone for Cardiff City. Obviously, they're led by Warnock, a great manager at this level. He can turn a team of complete amateurs into a championship team, a mid-table championship team, in fact, and that's exactly where Cardiff will be. Once again, a similar issue to most teams. The owners are stopping the club from moving forward. But despite this, they do have a few good players. I think Junior Hoylett is going to be a key player for them next season. He's such a good player, and he's so undervalued. Okay, he can go on and off sometimes, but when he's on his day, there is not much better wingers slash attacking midfielders in this division. As well as that, Zohore up top, when he wants to, he can finish him. And obviously, he did had that infamous miss on his debut away at Birmingham last year, but putting that aside, I definitely think he's a good player. Also, good players such as Gunnarsson in the middle. And as well as that, we've got Kadeem Harris, who has got a massive year ahead of him. He had a large portion of game time last year. He got to show what he can, what can he achieve. But it just depends on whether he can be consistent throughout the whole campaign. Because I generally do think he'll get a lot of game time this next year. Okay, so in 14th spot, I've gone for Preston North End. Obviously, they've lost their manager, Simon Grayson, who's gone to Sunderland, but they have got themselves a very good young manager in Alex Neil. Obviously, I've had the pleasure, if you like, of seeing how he kind of works the last few years. Obviously, he gave me personally the best day of my life at Wembley, but he's also given me extreme lows, like last season. He's someone who, has a good playing style, good. He gets his players playing the right way, possession based, on the floor, very good going forward. But defensively, he has his issues, and not going to lie, so do Preston, regardless of their manager. That will be their downfall. They do concede quite a lot of goals, but going forward, they are a force. Tom Burkhausen, I honestly butchered that name, but he had a terrific end to the season last year. He was scoring so many goals, assisting so many. He was a terrific player. It's going to be really interesting to see how much game time Josh Harrop gets. Obviously, scored on his debut at Old Trafford at the end of last season, but he's got a lot to prove again. Another youngster coming through the ranks of a big club. Can he make it? Can he do it in this division? I honestly think he could. He's someone who looks like a very accomplished striker and mature striker at this young age, and that is the reason why I've put Preston, in 14th spot. Okay, now, so in 13th spot, I've gone for Sunderland. Now, obviously, this might be a bit of a surprise to some people, because you'd probably tip them for the money they have, or supposedly have, and also the team they have, that they'd finish a bit high up. But I think that this problem with the club is something that's been going on for a lot longer than you may think. Obviously, it turns out they have got a massive debt, and that is why they're selling people. Jordan Pickford, somehow they got 30 million for him. As good as he is, I can't see how someone like that is worth 30 million, but that's for another debate. But the reason why I've put them there is because I just think that they've got a lot of dead wood in there. Players like Lee Cattermole, who have been there for I don't even know how long, just so long, and just some players like Jermaine Lens, just players that just shouldn't be there. They don't have the right attitude. But the players who do, and on their day, I mean, not saying that he does always have the best attitude, but Lamine Kone, if they can keep hold of him, he is the best defender in that division. He's so good. I mean, same with Ndong. If they can keep hold of them two players, they will definitely probably finish higher than this, because those two players alone can create a spine of the team. So much more better than the level they are currently at. And then going forward, James Vaughan, great signing, terrific. I mean, Bury last year, he absolutely set it alight. He scored so many goals. I know that's a lower level, but if he's given the chance and he stays fit, because believe me, he is very injury prone, then he could definitely score quite a lot of goals. As well as that, Duncan Watmore is just another one of the few youngsters they've got coming through who do show a lot of potential. You know, he made it at Premier League level, to some would say, but can he do it at Championship? Surely he can. We'll have to find out. But I've put Sunderland for 13th place. Could cause a bit of uproar. It's a bit of a surprise. I'm putting out there a bit, but I just once again think there's a bigger issue here, similar to Sunderland, and that's why I think they're going to finish so close. I mean, they're just a complete selling club, obviously, at the minute. As soon as they drop down, I mean, Andrew Robson, Harry Maguire, both their, two really important players for their defence, just completely gone. Curtis Davis also gone as well. I just think that the fact they're selling so much is just going to hurt them in the long run, just by and really just completely not give them a chance of even getting back into the Premier League. I mean, they've took a big risk off Kevin Stewart, paid about 8 million for him. I mean, I know they did make 27 million alone just off Harry Maguire and Robertson, but 8 million on a, untried, inexperienced youngster is definitely a gamble. They do still have some good players at the club. If they can keep Abel Hernandez fit, you saw from how he was last time, he's a great player. But obviously last time they were here, they had players like Robert Snodgrass in there as well. And without those players that can, make things happen, I just can't see them doing it. I think this is something where they're going to really have to rebuild and then go again. Once again, typical issue here is the owners. And this is why I'm putting them so low down, and in, particularly 12th place. Okay, so now we move on to 11th spot, and for this position, I've predicted Birmingham City. Now, obviously last year, very controversial. To sum it up briefly, they should have never, ever sacked Gary Rowett and replaced him with Gianfranco Zola. But I think, to be honest with you, you probably know that because of how bad that went, how close they were to going back down to League One, which just would have been an absolute travesty for them. But obviously Harry Redknapp, the reputation he has, the player knowledge, he's way above this level, and I just can't wait to see how they do this year. I don't think they're ready though to challenge for even the top six. They've brought in some good players, and I think one of them will be their best player next year, and I think that will be David Stockdale. You saw how good he was for Brighton. I honestly can't believe they've let him go. I think he was Premier League quality for their kind of level, and I just, he kept them in games time after time, and I just don't know why they got rid of him. But their young starlet, who did impress in my opinion last year, was Che Adams. Obviously he'll get a chance to play against his former club, Sheffield United, this season. And I think this is the year that he could really break through. And I personally feel if he has a good start of the season, he'll move on to a higher tier club in January. Because I really do think, after watching him one or two times, that he's a youngster with bags of ability, and he just needs to fulfil his potential. But that is why I've put Birmingham in 11th place. Okay, so next up, 10th place is Derby County. Once again, another team that, just every year, they can't do it. I mean, the amount of times I've been sitting there thinking, all right, Derby, 100% top 6, if not top 2, and they end up finishing 7th or 8th. I mean, they do it every single time. It's just like they want to let their fans down. They have such a good squad. I mean, Bradley Johnson, terrific player. I mean, their midfield. I mean, I know they've lost Will Hughes, but as I personally don't think he was the right player for them. I think he's definitely a Premier League player in the fact that he's small, he's got good agility, good passing. I think that does not suit this league unless you're an exceptional player. But I definitely think people like Matic, Vidra, Chris Martin especially has a very big year ahead of him. Both strikers are, very good for this level. They will definitely score lots of goals. But will they stop at the goals? I mean, they've still got Scott Carson in goal. They've spent quite a lot of money on Andre Wisdom, who personally I didn't think was that good of a player when he was on loan down at Norwich. And overall, their defence is very bleak, very average to say the least. But Gary Rowett, good upcoming manager. If you think what he did with that Birmingham team, think what he could do with this Derby team. So never ruled them out. But I still think they are not ready or good enough at this moment in time. That's why I've put them for 10th place. And forward, they've got some amazing players. I mean, Dean Smith really should guide this team to at least 8th, if not higher, in my opinion. I definitely think they have a chance of getting into the top 6. I mean, the creative players like Jota, Romain Sawyers, Sergi Canos, Ryan Woods, terrific. Ball playing and attacking football, so exciting. They are definitely one of the better teams in the league for that, and I think you did see it in glimpses last season. I mean, still got players like Harley Dean at the back who are very good and accomplished centre-halves at this level. As well as that, Lasse Vibe scored a massive amount of goals last season. He's very clinical, takes a lot of his chances. It just really depends how they want to play and how many goals they score, because even though they're very good going forward, once again their own downfall is their defence. Like I said, they still do have people like Harley Dean, a terrific young goalie in Daniel Bentley, but they are not, the rest of the players around them aren't really either at this level or fulfilling their potential. But I still think they're in for a good season, and that's why I've put Brentford for 9th. Okay, so in 8th place, I've put Leeds United. Now, obviously, their biggest departure of the summer has to be Gary Monk. I mean, I don't know how they've let him go. I mean, obviously, they've had a new board come in, and I don't think the discussions was what he wanted to hear. And now, that's why you've seen him go to Middlesbrough. Not gonna lie, he'll probably be in the Premier League next year again. But regardless of that, I just think that their team as a whole, the youth they've got there, Leeds have always been good for producing good youngsters. I mean, Johnny Howson, Lewis Cook, players like that, all gone through the Leeds ranks, terrific young players. And I think Vieira and Calvin Phillips have a big year ahead of them. They broke into it last year, about halfway through though, so they've had a half year of experience. Can they do it for the full season? Can they be consistent? Other players like Kemar Ruth, again, another player who's made the step up. When he was at Oxford, people said, and signed for Leeds, people said, can he do it? He's shown last year he can. Can he keep fit? Can he keep consistent? That's what you need to see. Can they keep Chris Wood for 1, and 2, can they keep him in his goal scoring form? If they tee him up, he will score goals. If they can get everyone playing as good as they are, they will finish above 8th. I just can't see it. I personally do not think that they are consistent enough to warrant a top 6 place. But let me know in the comments down below where you think Leeds will finish. Okay, so next up, in 7th place, finishing one position outside of the playoffs, is Reading. Jack Sam's team obviously did lose in that unbelievable penalty shootout, which saw Huddersfield inevitably go up to the Premier League, and they were so close to doing it last year, but I just don't think it will be their year this time. I think Jaap Stam, not a lot of people knew about his kind of way of playing football beforehand. I did think that benefited him. Very good defensively, as you'd probably expect, even though saying that, the only time I've watched them last year was when my team Norwich beat them 7-1. So, not the best defensive performance, but there are people like Reece Oxford in there. Obviously, Paul McShane, who is a good leader and will be very good for them this year. Liam Moore, defensively they have some good players. Just depends once again how consistent they are, and also how much goals they score. Very rarely they win by 3 or 4 goals. I think Jordan Obita is one of their starlets up in the more attacking positions. However, he doesn't really chip in with too many goals. Their main goal scorer is Kermigan, and I just don't know if if he can score enough goals to put them in a playoff spot, because this year, I think, with a few teams and how they've strengthened, and also teams that have gone down and come up, I don't know if they're one of the top 6 teams in the league. But we'll have to see. I personally think they'll finish just outside. Once again, let me know down in the comments below whether you think Reading will make the playoffs. First team in the playoffs in 6th position. I've predicted Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now this team next year are going to be so exciting to watch. Nuno Santo, their new manager, no one really knows how his philosophies are, how he plays, anything like that. It's complete clean slate for them. And I mean, some of the players they have, if you read down some of the players in their team, I mean, you've got Helder Costa, Ivan Cavaleiro, obviously there last year, brilliant players. And then Ruben Neves, I mean, how on earth they managed to sign him from Porto, I will have no idea, but he will tear this division up. And also, they've brought in another few good players like John Ruddy. Obviously, so sad to hear about Carl Akime, and I think that will be a big loss for them next year. But John Ruddy has been brought in to kind of fill his shoes, and I do think he's a good keeper on his day. I definitely think this is his level. Obviously, I've watched him for like the last 7 or 8 years, and he does have his times where he can be fairly either inconsistent or poor. But I think on the whole, no one knows how they're going to play this year. They have a very strong squad, and that is why I think that despite the fact they could be a little bit inconsistent and also could be a tad bit like a team of individuals, I think that they'll have the strength and cohesion to just about make a playoff spot. Okay, now in 5th spot, I've put my own team, Norwich City. I mean, I wouldn't say this is biased at all. I'd say this is probably realistically where we'll be looking to finish. Last year was, a disappointment. We'll put that behind us. We've got very good infrastructure now in the club. I mean, Stuart Webber obviously coming from Huddersfield. You saw what he could do there. He's brought in Daniel Farke. That same German approach which Wagner had last year. No one really knows about it. I mean, they went the whole year undiscovered, and that just no one could do anything about it. The German ways and the German players are just completely a different roll of the dice over here. They have so much more impact, the fitness, everything. I mean, we've brought in some good players who no one even knows about. I mean, Christoph Zimmermann, absolutely brilliant centre-half from what I've seen. Marcel Franke, once again. We've got rid of a lot of the dead wood in our team. Players like John Ruddy, Basong, Bennett, who we've shipped off. I mean, Johnny Howson is the only player who I would have liked to kept. But, he's on a big wage, didn't want to be here, so you have got to get rid of him. But I do think players like Cameron Jerome, who isn't the most clinical, but he's good at this level. Stephen Naismith is his year next year, as well as this. Obviously, Alex Pritchard, Tim Close. I mean, the list goes on. I'm not trying to be biased at all. I just think that we have the calibre to definitely. Okay, so now we're closing down. We're now on to the 4th spot, and for this position, I've put Sheffield Wednesday. Oh, don't know what I did there. Now, the reason I've put this team here is because, personally, I think they are one of those teams who always will be thereabouts. I mean, Carvajal, or Carvajal, however you pronounce it, their manager, is very good, and, he's proven at this level. I mean, in his years that he's been here, every single season, they've been in the top 6, and they've been so close, obviously losing to Hull, one strike from Diarme. I don't know how they didn't go up that year, but it is, it's going to be close for them. But I still think they're going to fall short. I mean, they've brought in one of the best, signings personally in the championship, and that is George Boyd. On a free transfer, he's absolutely brilliant, proven at this level. But for both Peterborough and Burnley, he will be exactly what they need. Obviously, they've got the firepower up front. Gary Hooper, Forestieri, Lucas João, even, who had who isn't even in their first team kind of minds. It just shows the depth they've got. I just think with the squad depth, the players they have. I mean, Stephen Fletcher as well. I mean, they've got an abundance of attackers. If they can keep solid at the back, I definitely think they're a force to be reckoned with this year, and they could even slip into the top 2, depending on how the other teams play. But for 4th spot, I've gone for Sheffield Wednesday. Okay, so now in 3rd spot, I've put Fulham. Off the back of last season, they were terrific, and they really should have got to that playoff final. I don't know how they didn't. I mean, how they lost to Reading, I'll never know. They were such a better team. They just crumbled at the opportunity. But they've got such a good team. I mean, I know they're going to be missing Chris Martin this year, and they haven't really replaced him yet. And obviously, if they do, then who knows? They could slip into the top two. But I just think without that striker there, they're not really going to be able to. I mean, Sonny Aluka is good, and Floyd Aite, again, another really tricky player, but they have no target man at all. I mean, they used to have Matt Smith. Even though he's not the best, he's a target man, someone to aim for. I don't think they have that at the minute. Obviously, Tom Kearney set the division alight last year. I don't know how no one's picked him up yet, because he's absolute class. Defensively, Ryan Fredericks, brilliant attacking fullback last year, as well as that on the other side, Ryan Sessegnon, who once again, I'm surprised, has pledged his loyalty to Fulham. Not many youngsters do nowadays, with teams like Spurs and Liverpool sniffing around them. Most of those youngsters go and flog their career and move at a really young age. But I do think they've got a good setup. They've got a general good club, good fan base, and I do think it will be a very interesting year for them. First automatic promotion spot, I have gone for Aston Villa. I mean, there's a lot of questions around this team. A lot of people say it's a team of individuals, but my God, are there some good individuals. I mean, just this summer, I mean, they've brought in players. I mean, John Terry, most people will slate him and say he's old, he's getting on now, 35, 36 years old. Obviously, he's not going to play every single game for them, but what a leader to have in the dressing room. I mean, someone who I just can't believe has made the drop down to the Championship. I mean, obviously they've got the core players that they signed last year in, I mean, Kodja up top, who's guaranteed goals, will definitely surpass the 20 mark. I mean, they've still got Ross McCormack contracted, and he's a good striker, I'll tell you that now as well. Scott Hogan as well. I mean, they've got the pick of the bunch up front. Grealish as well is a more attacking player. Conor Hourihane, Henry Lansbury. You won't get much of a better partnership in midfield at this level. James Chester as well at the back. I know they've sold a Marvey, but they have still got some other really good players in the defence. I just think that they're going to be so strong this year that, with a good manager like Steve Bruce behind him, who's no mug at this level, he got Hull up before, he's got other teams up, he's very experienced. I think they can definitely pip the other teams, and I do think they'll finish comfortably in the top two. One is first place. I personally think that the champions of the Championship will be Middlesbrough. They've come down. This is their time to bounce straight back. They've got Gary Monkin, an amazing manager at this level. You saw what he did with Leeds. Look what he can do with this squad. I mean, just this window alone, they've brought in players like Johnny Howson, Martin Braithwaite, as well as this Britta Sombalonga, 15 million. What a transfer that is, if he stays fit. I mean, their attacking options will be Braithwaite, Sombalonga, and Patrick Bamford. I mean, they're all proven at this level, other than Braithwaite, of course, but he's proven it, in fact, a high level. Ligue 1, that is a tough division. Definitely, in my opinion, a lot tougher than the Championship. So if you could get 15, 20 goals at both Sombalonga and Bamford, and goals coming through the rest of the team, I think they're definitely going to be top of the table. I don't think anyone can beat them. I mean, Adam Clayton in midfield, Forshaw. I mean, they've got so much depth that they can just, even if they were to get 2 or 3 big injuries, they'd still have probably the strongest team in the division. And I just can't see any other team stopping them. I mean, Darren Randolph, another very good signing. Obviously, he was actually the first choice keeper for West Ham before they got Joe Hart, and he had a very good season last year. So that just shows the calibre of players they're signing, and that's why I think the champions of the Championship next season will be Middlesbrough.